My sister blocked the guy she stalked for 4 years after seeing him hug me on the dance floor at our cousin's wedding. The hug lasted 3 seconds. 3 seconds of innocent friendship on a dance floor decorated with fairy lights and the smell of white roses. But for my sister Jessica, who spent 4 years obsessed with the man I was hugging, it was 3 devastating seconds. 3 seconds that finally freed her from the prison she had built for herself. And I didn't even know that simple gesture would be the nuclear bomb that would explode her fantasy. But I'm going too fast. Let me rewind. I grew up in Worthington, a quiet suburb of Columbus, Ohio. Houses with manicured lawns, neighbors who wave in the morning, that characteristic smell of cut grass on Saturdays. My name is Emily Parker. I'm 24. I work as an administrative assistant at a law firm in the Short North District, and my sister Jessica is a stalker. Not the cute romantic comedy type where the girl is persistent and eventually wins the guy over. The real kind. The scary kind. The kind that results in restraining orders denied at the Franklin County Court, moving cities, and nights where you wake up at 3 a.m. with your sister crying on the bathroom floor because he doesn't understand that we're meant to be. Jessica met Ryan Mitchell 4 years ago, Memorial Day weekend of 2021. She was 23, he was 24. It was at a graduation party at Ohio State University. Not hers, she had graduated years before from Columbus State. She was just there because a sorority friend invited her. Ryan was there with campus friends. Handsome, yes, that all-American type with an easy smile, but more than that, kind. The type of guy who held the union door for strangers, who laughed easily, who really listened when you talked about your American history thesis. Jessica was enchanted. There's no other word. She spent the entire night talking to him in the backyard, that typical backyard party with a cooler full of Bud Light and country music playing in the background. And when the party ended at 2 a.m., she was convinced she had found her soulmate. "Emily, he's perfect," she told me that night, her eyes shining under the yellowish light of our shared bedroom in our parents' house. The scent of Chanel No. 5, her perfume since she was 17, still permeated the air. We talked for hours about everything. Art, music, dreams of traveling the country on a road trip. It's like he completely understood me. "Did you get his number?" I asked, happy for her. Jessica had had a few disastrous relationships. Maybe this one would be different. I was lying in my bed, scrolling through Instagram, not imagining that conversation would mark the beginning of 4 years of nightmare. No. Her smile wavered, and she fiddled with the silver necklace she always wore, a small anchor, a symbol of stability that our grandmother had given her. He said he wasn't looking for a relationship right now, that he was focused on getting into grad school. But I know he felt the connection too. I saw it in his eyes. That was the first sign. Not that I knew it at the time, but looking back, that was the moment where Jessica's reality began to diverge from actual reality, like two train tracks slowly moving apart until they can no longer see each other. In the following days, Jessica became different. She talked about Ryan constantly, how perfect they were for each other, how he just needed time. She changed her perfume to something he had mentioned liking, Calvin Klein Eternity. She started wearing more cobalt blue, the color of the shirt he wore that night. "Jess," I said gently after a week, as we had breakfast at Starbucks on High Street, "maybe you should move on. If he said he's not interested." "He didn't say he's not interested," she corrected me, her fingers tapping on her caramel macchiato cup. "He said he's not looking for a relationship right now. It's different. He just needs time. Timing is everything, Emily." She started casually showing up at places where Ryan would be. She found out where he worked, a part-time Starbucks near campus, earning $12 an hour while studying, which CrossFit gym he frequented in German Village, which Chipotle she went to on Tuesdays after work. Always with excuses. "What a coincidence to see you here. I was passing by and thought I'd grab a coffee." Ryan was polite, always polite, typical Midwest kid raised with good manners, but clearly uncomfortable. I saw it once when I went to pick her up, and I saw him stepping away from her in the coffee line, his body turned defensively. "Jessica, look," he said after the 5th casual encounter in 2 weeks, on a suffocating July Saturday, the coffee shop's air conditioning barely working. You seem nice, but I'm really not interested in anything romantic with anyone, and I need you to respect that. Any normal person would have heard that, would have felt embarrassed perhaps, but would have moved on, would have gone home, cried with Ben and Jerry's, and eventually found someone new. Jessica heard, not yet. The following months were a slow but steady escalation. Messages, many messages, the kind that makes your iPhone vibrate 30 times in an hour. Calls at 2 a.m., unsolicited gifts left at Ryan's work, personalized mugs, history books she thought he'd like, fake social media profiles to monitor him, at Ohio History Girl 23, at Columbus Love Stories, at Buckeye Dreams. Jess, this isn't healthy. My mother finally said after 6 months, on a cold January morning, sitting in the kitchen that smelled of Maxwell House coffee and burnt toast, you need to stop. Stop what? Jessica seemed genuinely confused, fiddling with the anchor necklace. I'm just showing I care, that I'm here. When he's ready, he'll realize. This is romance, Mom. Real romance. He said he's not interested. My father, always the most direct, didn't mince words. He lowered the Columbus Dispatch he was reading. This is harassment, Jessica. Harassment. This could lead to criminal charges in the state of Ohio. You don't understand, Jessica screamed, and it was the first time I saw her truly lose control. The anchor necklace broke in her hands. Silver beads rolled across the linoleum floor. He's my soulmate. I feel it. And if I give up now, I'll lose the only chance at real happiness I've ever had. My parents forced her into therapy. They managed to get her into the Riverside Behavioral Health Center program, $180 per session, insurance covering only 50%. She went, but only to appease them. The therapist doesn't understand, she told me, as we drove back down 270. The smell of her new perfume, that Calvin Klein, nauseating in the closed car. She's never felt a connection like Ryan and I have. Obsession is a strange thing. From the outside, it looks like pure madness, but from the inside, it feels like love, the purest, most intense kind of love. That's exactly what makes it so dangerous. The person genuinely can't distinguish between devotion and illness. After a year, Ryan tried to get a restraining order. He filed a request at the Franklin County Court, downtown Columbus, that gray, intimidating building. Jessica had shown up at his apartment in Clintonville 3 times. Once, he woke up at 4 a.m. and she was in his bedroom, just watching, sitting in the chair by the window, the moonlight illuminating her face, wearing that Calvin Klein perfume that now made me nauseous. I just wanted to be near him, she explained to the Columbus police, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. I wasn't going to hurt him. I love him. That's love, not a crime. My parents paid for lawyers, good lawyers, the Morrison and Associates firm in Short North, $3,000 retainer plus $200 an hour. The restraining order was denied. Insufficient evidence of immediate threat, the judge said. Ohio is strict about it. It requires proof of physical violence or explicit threat. Ryan moved apartments to Grandview Heights, changed his number, but Jessica always found ways to find out. DMV records, mutual friends on Facebook, following his car. I watched my sister, the person who had been my best friend, my confidant, who defended me from bullies at Worthington Elementary, transform into someone I didn't recognize. Someone consumed by a fantasy, someone who couldn't see the difference between love and obsession. The broken anchor necklace remained in her drawer, never fixed, as if she had lost her own stability when it broke. Emily, you understand, don't you? She asked me one autumn night in 2023, 2 years into the obsession, as dry leaves flew across the yard and the smell of pumpkin spice filled the Starbucks where we met. You understand why I can't give up. No, I answered honestly, stirring my cold pumpkin spice latte. Jess, he made it clear he doesn't want you. He's scared of you. This isn't love. This is something else, something sick. You're too young to understand, she said, and there was so much pity in her voice, as if I was the one who was lost. When you find your person, you'll understand. you'll understand that it's worth fighting for. It's worth persevering. But it wasn't a fight. It was a pursuit. And it was destroying Jessica. She lost her job at Nationwide Insurance for always being sick, code for following Ryan around OSU campus. She lost friends who could no longer support her behavior. She lost weight, 20 pounds in 3 months. She slept poorly, lived in a constant state of anxiety about where Ryan was, who he was with, if he was thinking about her. My parents tried a formal intervention. Intensive therapy at Riverside, 3 times a week, intensive outpatient program, $4,000 a month, even with insurance. Medication, Prozac first, then Zoloft, then a combination that left her dizzy. Nothing worked because Jessica saw no problem. In her head, she was just being persistent, just showing her love, just waiting for Ryan to wake up and see what was right in front of her. Year 3 was when I almost gave up on her. Jessica had assaulted a woman Ryan was dating, an OSU graduate student named Ashley. Not violently, Jessica insisted, just a push in the Target parking lot on Sawmill Road. But it was enough. Ashley filed a complaint. Columbus Police Department got involved. My parents paid a $4,000 settlement. Again, always again. She wasn't right for him, Jessica told me, without any remorse, as we ate Skyline chili on a 10 Saturday. I did him a favor. One day he'll thank me. Jess, you hurt someone, I yelled, finally losing my patience. My voice echoed in the almost empty restaurant. People stared. You assaulted an innocent person because you were jealous. This isn't normal. This isn't love. This is sick. This is criminal. You don't understand anything, she said coldly, her eyes, once so warm, now empty. You've never really loved anyone. You don't know what it's like. Those words hurt more than I expected, because maybe she was right. I had never loved someone like that, but I had also never terrorized someone in the name of love. It was my father who finally took drastic measures. In early 2024, year 4, he forced Jessica to move to Cleveland, 3 hours away via I-71 North, away from Columbus, away from Ryan, away from everything. You need a new beginning, he said firmly, on a chilly February Sunday, as we packed her things. Smell of cardboard and dust. Away from Ryan, away from this obsession. We're putting you in an intensive treatment program in Cleveland, but you have to want to change, Jessica. You have to want to get better. I don't need to get better, Jessica said, but her voice was tired, defeated. She held the broken anchor necklace. I don't need Ryan. Jessica moved to Cleveland in March 2024, a small apartment in Ohio City near the West Side Market. She started treatment at Cleveland Clinic Behavioral Health, one of the best programs in the state, but very expensive. $8,000 a month out of my parents' pocket, even with United Healthcare insurance covering part of it. And for a few months, it seemed to be improving. She called less, talking about Ryan. She started mentioning making new friends in her therapy group, maybe looking for a part-time job at a local coffee shop. Her voice on the phone sounded lighter, less obsessive. I wanted to believe she was healing, but part of me knew you don't overcome 4 years of obsession in a few months, not with real work, brutal, honest work with herself. It was during that time, May 2024, that I found the support group, Families of Individuals with Obsessive Disorders, every Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Worthington Community Center, in a room that smelled of old Mr. Fixie. Coffee and had those uncomfortable folding metal chairs. $12 suggested donation per session. It sounded clinical, cold, but I needed it. I needed to talk to people who understood, who had watched someone they loved get lost in obsession, who carried that suffocating guilt of not knowing how to help. That's where I met Ryan. Not immediately. He had been in the group for months when I first showed up on that rainy May Thursday, but I didn't recognize him. Jessica had shown me photos, but they were always from a distance, blurry screenshots from his Instagram. And 4 years change a person. He had a beard now, shorter hair, a small scar on his eyebrow that wasn't in the old photos. In my first session, he was telling his story, sitting in a circle of 8 people, holding a styrofoam cup of lukewarm coffee. The worst part, he said, his voice breaking slightly, fingers tightening on the cup, isn't the constant fear. It's not waking up at 3 a.m. thinking someone is in your house. It's not looking over your shoulder every time you're at Target or Kroger. The worst part is the guilt. He paused, took a deep breath, smell of rain entering through the half-open window. Because part of me feels like I did something wrong, that I gave mixed signals at that graduation party 4 years ago, that I should have been clearer, firmer from the start, that I should have gotten that restraining order, that I should have done something, anything, to prevent her from destroying her own life, and mine. I didn't know it was Ryan, not yet, but I heard his story and my heart broke, because I recognized the pain. I had seen the same pain in my family, in my father's eyes when he opened another lawyer's bill, in the way my mother couldn't defend Jessica anymore without trembling. We talked after the meeting. The community center parking lot was almost empty, just a few LED lights illuminating the damp night. We just talked about our experiences, about what it's like to love someone with an obsessive disorder, about the guilt that corrodes you from within, the constant fear, the exhaustion of always being on alert. My sister, I said, as the rain fell softly, forming puddles on the asphalt, she's obsessed with a guy. For 4 years. She destroyed her life and almost destroyed his. And I feel so helpless, like I should have seen the signs earlier, done something. I'm sorry, Ryan said, and there was genuine empathy in his grayish-blue eyes, for the guy, but also for you, and for your sister, because obsession destroys everyone involved. It's like cancer. It spreads to everyone nearby. We became friends, slowly. Casual coffee dates after group meetings, at Starbucks on High Street, sometimes at the indie coffee shop Bean and Vine. Conversations about our lives, our fears, our dreams beyond the trauma we shared. There was no romantic attraction, just deep mutual understanding. 2 people united by similar scars. Ryan now worked as an assistant manager at Barnes & Noble in Easton Town Center, $16 an hour, finally out of the customer-facing job at Starbucks where Jessica found him. He was finishing his master's in American history online through Ohio State. He wanted to be a high school teacher. Work with kids, he said, people who aren't broken by the world yet. I told him about my job at the Morrison & Associates law firm, the irony of working for the same lawyers who defended my sister, about my dream of eventually going to law school, about how I was afraid of relationships because I had seen what love had done to Jessica. It was only 3 months later, August 2024, on a suffocating summer afternoon, that the truth came out. We were having coffee at Bean and Vine on a Saturday afternoon. The air conditioning was barely working, the smell of espresso and vanilla syrup in the hot air. My phone rang. Jessica. I hesitated. Our conversations lately were tense. She was better, but there was always that feeling of walking on eggshells. But I answered. Emily, I need to tell you something. Her voice was different, lighter, almost giddy. I met someone. My heart pounded with hope. I almost spilled my iced Americano. Really? Jess, that's amazing. I know. She was really excited, her voice rising in pitch like when we were kids and got ice cream. He's kind, funny, works freelance graphic design, name's Marcus. We've been out twice, bowling on the first date, Italian dinner on the second, and Emily, I didn't think about Ryan once during the dates. Tears stung my eyes. People in the cafe looked at me. Jess, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for not giving up on me, she said softly, voice choked. I know it's been difficult, these 4 years, but I think I'm finally healing. Dr. Stevens says it's real progress, not just white-knuckling through the days. When I hung up, I was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. Ryan noticed, looking over his Dell laptop where he was working on a paper about the Civil War. Good news? My sister, I explained, my voice still trembling with emotion. She's finally dating someone new, Marcus, after years obsessed with... Wait, something clicked, slowly, terribly, like those movies where you see the twist coming, but you can't stop it. My stomach dropped. It turned cold. The coffee suddenly tasted like ashes. Ryan? My voice was strange, distant. What's your full last name? He looked at me, confused. Mitchell. Ryan Mitchell. Why? I saw in his eyes the exact moment he realized it too. That horrifying moment of recognition. His fingers froze on the keyboard. And? Your sister is? He whispered, but he already knew. He already knew from the way my face had paled, how my hands trembled holding the phone. Jessica Parker, I whispered back. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the barista making espresso drinks seemed distant. Ryan was pale, trembling even. His hand knocked over the glass of water. Water spilled across the wooden table, soaking napkins, but neither of us moved. Your sister, he said, voice hoarse, almost inaudible. Jessica is your sister. Jessica Parker from Columbus, Ohio, who stalked me for 4 years? I didn't know. The words came out in a desperate rush, hands raised as if they could stop reality. Ryan, I swear to God, I had no idea that you were him, her Ryan. She never showed me clear photos, just screenshots. And when you told your story in the group, you never mentioned full names. And I know. He raised his hand, cutting off my desperation. I believe you, Emily. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have known, and still, you're different from her, completely different. But something had changed. The ease between us, the trust built over 3 months, all stained, contaminated by Jessica's shadow, like oil spilled on clean water. I should go. Ryan stood up abruptly, chair scraping on the floor. This is too much, too much. Ryan, wait. No. His voice was firm but not cruel, just exhausted. I need to process this. Do you understand? I understood. Of course I understood. But it still hurt. It hurt deeply, watching him walk out the coffee shop door, the bell jingling, knowing that our friendship, one of the few pure things left in my life after 4 years of nightmare, was now complicated, perhaps destroyed, by Jessica's shadow. Obsession doesn't just destroy the obsessed person and the object of obsession, it contaminates everything around it, every relationship, every connection, like poison spreading through groundwater, reaching places you never imagined it could touch. I didn't talk to Ryan for 2 weeks. August turned into September. Labor Day passed. He didn't show up at the Thursday meetings at the community center. He didn't answer my messages, 4 in total, spaced out, trying not to seem like Jessica. Hey, are you okay? Can we talk? I understand if you need space. Our friendship means a lot to me. And I didn't blame him. How do you process discovering that your best friend is the sister of the person who terrorized you for 4 years? Jessica called regularly from Cleveland, increasingly excited about Marcus. They were taking it slow, she said. Coffee dates, walks in the Cleveland metro parks. She had started a part-time job at an art gallery near the West Side Market, $14 an hour plus commission. She was feeling good, normal, like herself for the first time in years. I even blocked Ryan, she told me casually on a Tuesday night call while I ate Skyline chili alone in my apartment in Clintonville, TV on Netflix with no sound. On everything. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, even that old MySpace he still had. Social media, phone, email. Dr. Stevens suggested it as a form of closure. And you know what? It was liberating. I finally let go. You blocked him? I repeated, shocked, fork frozen in midair. On everything? For real this time? Yes, my therapist suggested it as a form of definitive closure. And you know what? It was liberating. I finally let go. I deleted the saved photos, all 847 of them. I deleted the archived messages. I threw away that Calvin Klein perfume. It's like I can finally breathe again. I should have been happy, and I was, but I was also confused, skeptical. Because Ryan had told me, in those coffee conversations before we discovered the truth, that Jessica would block and unblock him constantly. It was part of the obsessive pattern. She would block him when she was moving on, then unblock him days or weeks later, and the stalking would resume. Vicious cycle. Jess, are you sure you're ready? I asked carefully, putting the fork aside, my stomach churning. That this isn't just temporary, like the other times? I'm sure, she said, and there was conviction in her voice that I hadn't heard in years. Emily, I know you're skeptical. I know I failed before. God knows how many times. But this time is different. Marcus makes me feel seen, not obsessed, just happy. And Dr. Stevens says that's the difference. Before, I was running away from Ryan. Now I'm running towards something real. I wanted to believe. God, how I wanted to. It was my father who called me 3 days later, Friday night. I had just left work at the Morrison and Associates office. Heavy traffic on 315, smell of gasoline and frustration in the warm September air. Emily, your cousin Tyler is getting married. October 12. Big wedding at the barn at Rocky Fort Creek, near Gahanna. The whole family will be there. Aunts, uncles, second cousins we see once a decade. Okay. I waited for the other shoe to drop, fingers gripping the steering wheel. Jessica will be there, he said carefully. And I know things have been tense between you two these past few weeks, but it would be good if you could reconnect, as sisters, as we used to be before all this. Dad, I never stopped wanting to reconnect with Jess, but she was obsessed. She's better now, he interrupted me, voice firm but gentle. Really better. I spoke with her Dr. Stevens. She gave me permission to contact her. Emily, your sister is making real progress, not just going through the motions. And she wants to see you. She wants to rebuild your relationship, bring Marcus to meet the family. Tears stung my eyes. A horn honked behind me, green light. I want that too, Dad, more than anything. Then come to the wedding. Bring a date if you want. Your brother Jake is bringing his new girlfriend. Cousin Sarah is bringing her husband and kids. We'll be a family again, like old times, before everything fell apart. When I hung up, I sat in traffic for a long moment, cars honking, radio playing country music softly. Then, before I could talk myself out of it, before fear paralyzed me, I messaged Ryan. My cousin is getting married, October 12, the barn at Rocky Fort Creek. I know things are weird between us since we found out, but would you like to go with me? As friends, just friends. I could use the support, and I owe you complete honesty now. Jessica will be there. I didn't expect a reply. I thought maybe he had blocked me, which I wouldn't have blamed him for. But it came 3 hours later, when I was already home eating Chinese takeout from Bamboo Garden. Jessica will be there. I took a deep breath. Brutal honesty. Yes, but Ryan, she's better. Really better this time. She's dating someone new, Marcus from Cleveland. And she's blocked you on everything. Instagram, Facebook, phone, email, as a way to move on. Her therapist, Dr. Stevens, suggested it as definitive closure. Long pause. 3 dots appearing and disappearing. My heart pounding. Then, okay, I'll go. But Emily, if she approaches me strangely, if she does anything that makes me uncomfortable, I'm leaving immediately. It's non-negotiable. Fair, I replied, fingers trembling on my iPhone keyboard. More than fair, and thank you for trusting me enough to even consider it. I trust you, he wrote. You're not your sister. You never were. It's Jessica who scares me, always has. If you're enjoying this story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Have you ever had someone in your family with obsessive behavior? How did you deal with it? Share in the comments. The following weeks were a tense countdown. Jessica called regularly from Cleveland, increasingly excited about the wedding, about seeing family she hadn't seen since last Christmas, about seeing me. I missed you so much, Emily, so much. About bringing Marcus to meet everyone. I know I've been a terrible sister these years, she said on a Thursday night call as I changed after the support group meeting. Ryan had returned, but kept a polite distance. Obsessed with Ryan, ignoring you, ignoring everyone, living in a fantasy while you and Mom and Dad carried the burden. But I'm better now, and I want to make it up to you. I want to be the sister you deserve. I missed you too, I admitted, my voice breaking. The real Jess, not the obsessed version, but you, my sister who taught me how to braid, who defended me at school, who watched Grey's Anatomy with me on Sundays. Are you bringing someone to the wedding? She asked, casually, too innocently. A friend, I replied, carefully, every word heavy. Just a friend, nothing romantic. That's great. I can't wait to meet him. And you'll meet Marcus. He's amazing, Emily. So different from what I thought I wanted. He's real, present, sees me as a person, not a fantasy. There was something in her voice, something genuine that I hadn't heard in 4 years. But there was also that small voice in my head, the voice that had seen Jessica relapse dozens of times, whispering, what if it's temporary? What if seeing Ryan detonates everything? The wedding day arrived, Saturday, October 12th. Ohio in full fall foliage, those impossible colors of orange and red and gold. The barn at Rocky Fork Creek was exactly the kind of venue you imagine, a renovated rustic barn, decorated with fairy lights and mason jars full of wildflowers, the smell of old wood and white roses, and that characteristic fall air, dry leaves and damp earth. Tyler and his fiancée, Sophia, were radiant, that kind of young, uncomplicated happiness that makes your heart ache with envy and joy at the same time. Ryan met me at the entrance at 2:30 p.m. He looked elegant in a navy blue suit from Men's Wearhouse, a slim tie, leather shoes he had clearly bought specially, still a little uncomfortable. But I could see the tension in his shoulders, in the way his eyes constantly scanned the place, looking for her. Are you okay? I asked, touching his arm gently. Nervous, he admitted, his voice low. The smell of his cologne, something with cedar and bergamot. But okay. Where is she? Not here yet. I looked around. Cars arriving, family greeting, my parents near the entrance, my mom wearing that floral dress from Macy's she saved for special occasions. But Ryan, if you want to go, if this is too much... No, he held my hand. Not romantically, but in mutual support, fingers cold despite the mild day. I'm here, for you, because you're my friend, and friends show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That simple gesture, him holding my hand, meant more than he probably knew, because it meant that our friendship had survived the revelation, that we were stronger than the trauma Jessica caused, that I was not defined by my sister's sins. Jessica arrived 20 minutes later, at 2:50 p.m., driving a rented Honda Civic from Cleveland, with Marcus. He was normal, in a good, refreshing way. Not extremely handsome like a model, not overly charismatic like a player, just a nice guy, around 28, with a genuine smile, black-framed glasses, dark jeans, and a casual blazer. Messy brown hair, well-groomed beard. The kind of guy you see at Whole Foods buying organic produce and think, he seems trustworthy. And Jessica, God, Jessica looked light. For the first time in 4 years, she looked truly happy. Not the manic happiness that came from fantasizing about Ryan, but real, calm, healthy happiness. She wore a moss green dress, not cobalt blue, I noticed immediately. Her hair was shorter, in a modern lob, without that suffocating Calvin Klein perfume. Something softer now, maybe Flower Bomb. Emily! She saw me and ran, heels clicking on the barn's wooden floor, pulling me into a tight hug that smelled of herbal essence shampoo and happiness. I missed you so much. Me too, I whispered, tears in my eyes. You look amazing, Jess. Really. I feel amazing, she pulled back, smiling that smile I remembered from childhood, before Ryan, before the obsession. Emily, this is Marcus. Marcus, my sister, my best friend, when I wasn't being a horrible person. We talked for a few minutes. Marcus was sweet, clearly smitten with Jessica. He worked as a freelance graphic designer, mainly for small businesses in Cleveland, logos, branding, web design. He earned decent money, $50,000 to $60,000 a year. He met Jessica in her therapy group. He was there for an anxiety disorder. Jess told me everything early on, Marcus said honestly, his voice low, looking into my eyes, about the 4 years, about Ryan, about the stalking and the legal issues. I'm not going to lie, it was difficult, even scary. But I saw that she was genuinely working on herself, really doing the work, and I wanted to support her on that journey. It was only when Ryan approached, inevitable at some point, that I saw the change. Jessica saw him first. Her eyes widened. Her face went pale under her light makeup. Her hand instinctively went to her neck, looking for the anchor necklace that was no longer there. Marcus noticed immediately, his hand automatically going to her waist in silent, firm support. "Adrienne," she said, and her voice was strange, not obsessed, not manic, just surprised, and maybe a little embarrassed, like encountering someone you bullied in high school years later. "Jessica," Ryan nodded, polite but distant, body tense like a violin string, ready for fight or flight. The silence lasted only 3 seconds, but felt eternal. Guests passing, soft music playing, the smell of roses and nervousness in the air. You're here with Emily?" Jessica looked between us, processing. No jealousy on her face, just genuine confusion. "As friends," I said quickly, my voice coming out louder than I intended. "Jess, we met in a support group for families of people with obsessive disorders. I didn't know he was her Ryan until months after we became friends. Horrible coincidence, and—" "It's not a coincidence," Jessica interrupted me softly. "It's appropriate in a strange way. You helping someone I hurt, building something good out of what I destroyed." She turned to Ryan, took a deep breath. Marcus held her hand, silent support. "I need to say something to both of you." She looked at Ryan directly for the first time. "Ryan, I am so sorry, deeply, viscerally sorry, for what I did, for the 4 years I stole from you, for the fear I caused, waking up at 3 a.m. thinking someone is in your room, looking over your shoulder at Kroger, moving apartments 3 times. There's no excuse. None." Ryan stiffened, jaw clenched. "Jessica, let me finish, please." She raised her hand, trembling slightly. "I was sick. Obsessive-compulsive disorder with erotomanic features, the Cleveland Clinic doctor said. Obsessive personality disorder. But that's not an excuse. It's an explanation, and it doesn't erase what I did, the 4 years of terror I caused." Tears were streaming now, ruining her makeup. Marcus held her hand firmly, anchoring her. "I blocked you," she continued, her voice breaking, "on everything. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, phone, email, not out of anger, but because I finally understood something my therapist had been trying to get me to see for years. You're not a fantasy. You're a real person with real fears, a real life that I invaded, and I terrorized you. And that broke me, realizing what I did, who I had become." Sometimes healing doesn't come from big cinematic moments. It comes from small realizations, from finally seeing the truth that was always there, waiting for you to have the courage to look. The ceremony began shortly after. Beautiful, emotional. Tyler and Sophia exchanging vows under an arch covered in fall flowers, chrysanthemums and dahlias and asters, promising eternal love, in sickness and in health. Ironic, given the context. But my mind was on Jessica, on the way she had looked at Ryan, not with obsession, but with genuine remorse, accountability, like someone finally waking up from a 4-year dream and realizing it had been a nightmare. The reception was in full swing. DJ playing a mix of country and pop, Luke Bryan, Taylor Swift, that typical Ohio wedding playlist. Barbecue buffet, pulled pork, ribs, mac and cheese, coleslaw, the smell of smoke and barbecue sauce, and that characteristic fall evening air. Jessica and Marcus kept their distance from me and Ryan initially, giving us space, but I saw them occasionally. Jessica laughing at something Marcus said, dancing with him on the string-lit dance floor, looking normal, functional, like a regular person at a regular wedding, not someone consumed by obsession. It was during a slow song, Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran because of course, that Ryan asked me to dance. As friends, he clarified quickly, his voice low near my ear. I could use the support. This is harder than I imagined." "Of course," I smiled, taking his hand. On the dance floor, under those fairy lights and stars beginning to appear in the October sky, he pulled me into a hug. Not romantic, fraternal. The hug of someone who had been through trauma and found a friend on the other side. The smell of his cologne, of his anxiety, of his courage just to be there. "Thank you," he whispered, "for today, for bringing me, for being my friend even when you found out who I was. You could have cut me off, protected your sister, but you didn't. Thank you, I replied, my head resting on his shoulder, for not blaming me for my sister's actions, for seeing that I am separate from her. You are not responsible for her, he said firmly. You are just you, and you are an incredible friend, one of the best I've ever had. It was at that moment that I saw Jessica, across the dance floor, near the table with the three-tiered red velvet cake with cream cheese frosting, watching. Not with obsession, not with that sick kind of jealousy, but with something more complex. Sadness, perhaps, or recognition, or maybe closure. That it could have been her. If she had accepted Ryan's rejection 4 years ago at that graduation party, if she had chosen health over obsession. Our eyes met across the crowded dance floor, and slowly, Jessica smiled. Not a happy smile, a sad but genuine smile, of acceptance, of closure, of letting go. She raised her champagne glass in a silent toast, to me, to Ryan, to moving on, to choosing real life instead of fantasy. And then she turned to Marcus, pulling him onto the dance floor, choosing to be present in her real life instead of lost in fantasies about a man who never wanted her, choosing health over obsession. Sometimes the moment of healing isn't big or dramatic like in the movies. It's just an innocent hug at a wedding, a shared glance across a dance floor, and the conscious choice to finally let go, to finally choose to live. Later that night, when the party was winding down, around 10:30 p.m., people starting to call Ubers and collect favors, Jessica found me near the barn exit. "Emily, I need to tell you something," she said, nervous. Marcus was a few steps behind, giving us privacy, but present. "Okay," my heart sped up. "When I saw you and Ryan on the dance floor," she paused, took a deep breath. The smell of champagne on her breath, of fading flower bomb perfume, of raw honesty. Something in me broke, but not out of anger or jealousy, out of clarity. Crystal clarity for the first time in 4 years. "Jess, let me finish." She held her hand, cold fingers, trembling. "I saw you two, just friends, clearly just friends, supporting each other, pulling together, and realized that's what I should have offered Ryan years ago. Friendship, respect, acceptance when he said no. Not obsession, not stalking, not 4 years of terror." Tears were streaming down my face now, ruining my makeup too. Sisters, matching in dysfunction. "When I get home tonight," she continued, her voice firm despite the tears, "I'm going to double-check that Ryan is blocked everywhere. Make sure there are no loopholes, no way for me to relapse, because he deserves peace, real peace, not just temporary absence of pursuit. And I deserve to move on. And we both deserve lives where he is not the center of my universe." "I'm so proud of you," I whispered, pulling her into a tight hug. "Don't be. Not yet." She pulled away, wiping tears with the back of her hand. "I have a long way to go, years of continued therapy, of rebuilding trust, with you, with mom and dad, with myself, of learning to be a healthy person, not just someone abstaining from unhealthy behavior. But this, today, this moment, is a start, a real beginning. Will you continue to be friends with Ryan?" she asked, and there was only genuine curiosity, no jealousy, no possessiveness. "If he wants to, yes," I answered honestly. "But Jess, you need to understand, there's nothing romantic there, never will be. He's my friend, just that. A friend who understands trauma in a way few can." "I know," she nodded. "And that's okay, more than okay. You both deserve to have friendship without my obsession staining everything, without my shadow hanging over you." We hugged then, a real hug, of sisters, the first in 4 years that felt genuine, that didn't have that tension of always walking on eggshells, of always wondering when the next explosion would come. "I love you, Emily," she whispered, "and I'm so sorry, for everything, for the 4 years I stole from you too, from having a normal sister, from being able to tell me about your problems without them always being overshadowed by my obsession." "I love you too," I replied, my voice choked, "and we'll get through this, together, one day at a time, like they say in AA, one day at a time." Ryan appeared then, hesitant. "Sorry to interrupt. Emily, are you ready to go? I can give you a ride back to Columbus." Jessica looked at him, really looked, not with those obsessive eyes, but with clarity. "Ryan," she said, "thank you." He looked confused. For what? For not getting the restraining order, she said, and that sounded insane, but she continued, if you had gotten it, I would have found a way around it. Or worse, I was so deep in obsession that legal restriction would have only escalated. But you survived, and you gave me time to finally wake up, finally seek real help, not just going through the motions. So thank you for surviving until I woke up. Ryan was silent for a long moment. Then, I don't forgive you. Not yet. Jessica nodded. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But, Ryan continued, his voice softening slightly, I see that you're trying, really trying. And that's more than you've done in the last 4 years. So thank you for finally seeing me as a person, for finally stopping. A week after Tyler's wedding, Jessica called me from Cleveland. It was Tuesday night. I had just gotten home from work at Morrison & Associates. The smell of Thai takeout I had picked up on the way. I did it, she said without preamble, her voice firm but emotional. I checked everything. Ryan is blocked on all platforms. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, even that Venmo, where he appeared because mutual friends made payments. And Emily, I deleted all the photos, all 1,247 screenshots I had saved, all the archived messages, 4,893 of them, everything. My heart pounded. I put the Thai food aside, my appetite disappearing. Jess, that's incredible, huge. It was harder than I imagined, she admitted, her voice breaking. My fingers hovered over the delete all button for 15 minutes because part of me still wanted that door open, that microscopic possibility of maybe one day. But then I remembered his face at the wedding, the fear that was still there, even after I apologized. And I knew I had to do it. Not for him, for me. How do you feel? Long pause. Sound of Cleveland traffic in the background. Empty, she said honestly. For 4 years, Ryan was my North Star, my reason to wake up, to check my phone, to plan my days. And now there's just emptiness. But Dr. Stevens says that's normal, that the emptiness is necessary before you can fill it with healthy things. It's like when you remove a tumor. There's a hole, but the hole will heal. Healing is not linear. It's not pretty. It's messy, painful, and sometimes it feels worse before it gets better. Like breaking a bone that healed wrong. It needs to break again before it can heal right. In the following months, October turning into November, turning into December, I watched Jessica work on herself in ways I had never seen. Therapy 3 times a week at the Cleveland Clinic, even when she wanted to cancel. Support group on Tuesdays. Medications strictly taken. Prozac 40 milligrams in the morning, Seroquel 100 milligrams at night for sleep. Daily journaling about her thoughts, recognizing obsessive patterns before they escalated. Today, I saw a guy who looked like Ryan, she told me on a Thursday call, Thanksgiving week, at the West Side Market buying vegetables. Same build, same hair, and my first instinct, that visceral instinct, was to follow him, just to make sure if it was him, just to see. My stomach dropped. Jess, but I stopped. She interrupted me quickly. I breathed. I used that grounding technique Dr. Stevens taught. 5 things I see, 4 things I hear, 3 things I can touch. I remembered that it didn't matter if it was Ryan, that chapter was closed, locked and deadbolted. And I went home. I called Marcus, and I'm proud of that. You should be, I replied, genuinely impressed. Jess, that's huge progress. Massive. But not everything was linear progress. There were relapses. Moments where Jessica unblocked Ryan at 3 a.m., looked at his Instagram for 2 hours, he had changed to a public profile, perhaps a sign of healing, then blocked him again in a panic and called Marcus. I failed, she cried on a call at 2:47 a.m. on a cold Tuesday in December. I was sleeping, my phone buzzing me awake. I looked at his profile. I saw he's dating someone, a girl named Lauren, a teacher at Dublin City Schools. And I felt that feeling again, that obsession, wanting to come back, that urge to find her, to warn her, to... But you blocked him again, I interrupted gently, my voice hoarse from sleep, and you called your boyfriend and me. Didn't reach out to you, didn't contact Lauren, didn't act on urges, just managed the feelings. It doesn't feel like progress, she sobbed. It feels like I'll never be normal, that I'll always be that stalker, always one step away from destroying everything again. Recovery isn't linear. I said firmly, repeating what I had heard in the support group dozens of times. You'll have urges, probably for years, maybe forever. But Jess, you're recognizing the patterns. You're fighting against them. You're reaching out instead of acting out. That's all we can ask for. That's recovery. Ryan and I continued our friendship. He was cautious at first, understandably, always checking if Jessica was really better or just performing improvement. But with time, he relaxed. We went back to our weekly coffee dates, to the Thursday meetings at the community center. She seems different, he commented in January, almost 3 months after the wedding, after seeing Jessica at a New Year's family gathering. She had driven from Cleveland with Marcus. She stayed only a few hours. She didn't look for Ryan, who was there as my plus one. More present, grounded, like she's finally here, actually here, not lost in Fantasyland. She's working on it, I replied, drinking an Americano at Bean and Vine. Snow falling outside, that typical Ohio winter. Every day. It's not perfect. There are relapses. She unblocked you in December at 3 a.m., looked at your profile, saw you were dating Lauren. Ryan tensed. She blocked you again in 20 minutes, I interrupted, and called her boyfriend and me, didn't reach out to you, didn't contact Lauren, didn't act on urges, just manage the feelings. That's all I can ask for, Ryan said, relaxing slightly. Then, hesitant, do you think one day, I could forgive her? I don't know, I admitted, honest as we always were with each other. Forgiveness is personal, individual, and what she did was devastating. 4 years of terror. But Jess isn't asking for forgiveness. She's just trying to be better, be a functioning human being, and maybe that's enough for now. It was my father who organized the dinner. March 2025, almost 5 months after the wedding. Family dinner, he said on a Sunday call. All of us, your mom, me, you, Jake and his girlfriend Melissa, Jessica and Marcus. And if Ryan wants to come, as your friend, he's welcome. It's time for us to start healing as a family, all of us. Dad, are you sure Jessica and Ryan in the same? Jessica is better, he said firmly, that Midwest dad determination that doesn't accept arguments. Really better. I spoke with her Dr. Stevens yesterday, with Jessica's permission. Emily, your sister is doing real work, not just going through the motions. It's time. The dinner was at our childhood home in Worthington, a 2-story house with white siding, a well-kept lawn, that feeling of suburban Ohio normalcy. My mother had made pot roast, that classic Midwest comfort food, the smell of meat and vegetables and dinner rolls filling the house. It was tense at first. Jessica was visibly nervous, her hands trembling as she cut her food. Marcus was by her side, a constant presence of support, his hand occasionally touching hers, silent reassurance. Ryan was rigid, clearly uncomfortable, sitting on the other side of the oak dining table that had seen so many family dinners before the obsession destroyed everything. But he had come, for me, for our friendship. It was my mother who broke the ice. Jessica, dear, tell us about your new job. Jessica had gotten a full-time job now, at the Cleveland Museum of Art, working in archives. $18 an hour plus benefits. Nothing glamorous, but it was stable income, a structured environment, and my boss, Patricia, she knows about my past, my issues, and she has been incredibly supportive. And Marcus, my father turned to him, trying to include everyone. How's your design work? The conversation flowed, slowly, awkwardly, but it flowed. And at some point, I realized we were having a normal family dinner for the first time in 4 years, passing mashed potatoes, laughing at a joke from my brother about something that happened at his job at Nationwide Insurance, talking about the brutal Ohio winter, about the Browns losing again, about plans for the summer. Jessica didn't look at Ryan obsessively, not like before. She acknowledged him when he spoke, polite acknowledgement, replied politely if he included her in the conversation, but there was no intensity, no need, that obsession that used to radiate from her like heat. After dinner, while everyone had coffee in the living room, my mom had made apple pie, that smell of cinnamon filling the house. Jessica pulled me aside to the porch. Thank you, she said, her breath forming clouds in the cold March air. for not giving up on me, for bringing Ryan today, even knowing it would be difficult, for still loving me, even when I was impossible to love. You were never impossible to love, I corrected, pulling my cardigan tighter against the cold. You're sick. There's a difference. You're my sister. Always will be. Still, she held my hand, fingers warm now, steady. Thank you. And Emily, I know I have a long way to go. Years, probably, of therapy, of work, of proving I've changed, but I'm going to do it. For me, for our family, and for all the people I hurt. That night, when Ryan drove me home, driving down 270, Columbus lights twinkling in the distance, he was quiet, thoughtful. Are you okay? I asked. I was thinking, he said slowly, his hands on the steering wheel of his used Honda Accord, about forgiveness, about healing. And I think, maybe, one day, I can forgive Jessica. Not forget, never forget, but forgive. What changed? Seeing her today, he explained, merging to my exit, not looking at me obsessively, not trying to get my attention, just living, with Marcus, with her family, being a person. For the first time, I saw that she is more than the stalker. She is a sick person trying to get better, and that deserves recognition. Maybe even forgiveness, eventually. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what happened was okay. It just means you're choosing not to let that define you forever. It means choosing to move forward, not because the person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. But the real moment of transformation, the moment where everything truly changed irreversibly, came 3 months later, June 2025. Jessica called me, her voice trembling. It was Saturday afternoon. I was at Target on Sawmill Road buying household items. Emily, I need to tell you something, and you need to promise not to be mad. My stomach dropped. I abandoned the cart, walking to a quiet corner near HomeGoods. Jess, what happened? I saw Ryan, she said, words tumbling out, on the street, High Street, near the OSU campus. By chance, pure coincidence. He was with his girlfriend, Lauren, the teacher, and I was paralyzed, frozen. All those feelings rushing back like a tsunami. That obsession wanting to take over. That urge to follow them, to take pictures, to Jess. But I didn't follow him, she interrupted me, her voice firm through the tears. I didn't take a picture. I didn't do anything. I just stood there, watching them, being happy. Ryan laughing at something Lauren said, holding hands, looking at each other like people who are really in love. And then I called Marcus, and he came to pick me up from the Starbucks where I was having a panic attack. And we went home, and I cried, a lot, cried for hours. But Emily, I didn't act on the feeling, and that feels huge. Tears streamed down my face now, standing in Target, people looking. Jess, that is huge. That's everything. Everything. I still have the feeling sometimes, she admitted, her voice small. That obsession is still there, waiting. Like addiction, always one bad day away from relapsing. But now I have tools. I have Marcus. I have my therapist. I have you. And I have the choice not to act. And today, I chose not to act. I'm so proud of you, I said, my voice broken with emotion. So proud. I'm proud of myself, too, she said, and there was wonder in her voice. For the first time in years, I'm proud of who I'm becoming. Not who I was, but who I'm becoming. A year after Tyler's wedding, October 2025, my life felt balanced. Not perfect, but healthy, real, functional. Jessica continued therapy, but had reduced it to once a week. Maintenance therapy, Dr. Stevens called it. She and Marcus were engaged, a long engagement, planning to marry in 2 years. No rush, she had said. I want to make sure I'm truly healthy before committing to someone forever. Marcus deserves my healthiest version. Ryan had become one of my best friends. He was seriously dating Lauren. She knew the whole story, knew about Jessica, and loved him anyway. They were happy, really genuinely happy. He had gotten a job as a high school history teacher at Dublin City Schools, $45K a year starting salary, but he loved it. Working with kids who still believe the world can be good, he had said. And me, I had started dating too. A guy from work, Daniel Chen, an associate attorney at Morrison & Associates. Nothing intense, nothing obsessive, just healthy, normal, good. The kind of relationship Jessica had robbed me of the opportunity to see as an example for 4 years. You look happy, Jessica commented at a sister's lunch, something we had started doing monthly at the Hyde Park restaurant in German Village. Truly happy, glowing. I am, I smiled, cutting into my salad. And you? How are you? Really? Better, she said. Not cured. I don't know if I'll ever be completely cured. OCD doesn't just disappear. But better, managing, living, and that's enough for now. Do you still think about Ryan? Sometimes, she admitted, but not obsessively. More like a memory of a dark period in my life, a reminder of how far I've come. And honestly, when I think about him now, I mostly feel gratitude. Gratitude, I repeated, surprised. That he survived, she explained. That he didn't let my obsession destroy him completely. That he found Lauren and is happy. Because for 4 years, all I wanted was for him to be happy. I just thought it had to be with me. Now I understand that he deserves happiness, period. And I don't have to be part of it. Healing is not the absence of symptoms. It's learning to manage, to recognize patterns, to choose differently every day. It's waking up and deciding to be a better person than you were yesterday, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. We organized a dinner. Jessica, Marcus, me, Daniel, Ryan, and Lauren. A crazy idea, maybe, but Jessica had suggested it. I want to make amends, she had said. Not just apologize with words, but show that I've changed. That I can be in the same room as Ryan without being weird. That I can be a normal person at a normal dinner. The dinner was at the Guild House in Short North, that gastropub with exposed brick and Edison bulbs. Surprisingly, it was good. Uncomfortable at first, yes. Everyone awkwardly ordering drinks, making small talk about the weather and work. But then the conversation flowed. Lauren was delightful, funny, warm, completely unintimidated by the situation. Ryan told me everything, she said openly, drinking her old-fashioned. And I appreciate your honesty today, Jessica. It takes courage. Marcus and Daniel hit it off, talking about tech and design. Ryan and I fell into our usual rhythm of friendship. And Jessica was present, engaged, normal. Can I say something? Jessica spoke when dessert was served, shared chocolate lava cake. Everyone tensed. I want to thank everyone for being here, for giving me this chance. Especially you, Ryan, and Lauren. Ryan stiffened, but Lauren held his hand, support. A year ago, at Tyler's wedding, I saw you hug Emily, Jessica continued, looking at Ryan, and something in me broke. Not out of anger or jealousy, but out of clarity. Brutal, devastating clarity. I saw you, really saw you, for the first time in 4 years. Not as a fantasy, but as a person I had terrorized. She took a deep breath. That night, I blocked you. And every day since then, I've chosen not to unblock. Not because I don't think about you, but because you deserve peace, and I deserve health, and we both deserve lives where you are not my gravitational center. Jessica, Ryan began. Let me finish. She raised her hand. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know, seeing you happy with Lauren, living your life, it doesn't make me obsessed anymore. It makes me relieved. Because it means I didn't completely destroy you, that you managed to move on despite me, and that's all I can hope for. The silence at the table was heavy. Then Ryan spoke, his voice low but firm. I forgive you. Jessica's eyes widened. Instant tears. Not completely, he continued carefully, and not forgetting. What you did will be with me forever. Therapy sessions every week still, jumping at unexpected sounds, checking door locks 3 times. But Jessica, I see that you're trying, really, genuinely trying, and that deserves forgiveness, not for what you did, but for who you're becoming. Jessica cried then, not dramatically, just silent tears of relief, gratitude, closure. Marcus held her hand, Lauren held Ryan's, and I looked around the table with wonder. Because there it was, healing. Real, messy, imperfect healing. Not a movie ending where everything is magically fixed, but real-life progress where broken people are slowly putting pieces back together. Healing is not a destination, it's a journey. And sometimes, the journey includes dinner with the person you terrorized and the person you inadvertently helped, and being okay with that. Not perfectly okay, but okay enough. Months later, November 2025, Jessica called me with news. I started giving talks, she said, excited but nervous, about obsessive disorders, about stalking, about healing. Dr. Stevens connected me with organizations that work with mental health, NAMI, local support groups, even some high schools. Jess, that's amazing. It's scary, she admitted, standing in front of people and admitting what I did. Teenagers looking at me, seeing a real stalker, not a romanticized version from Netflix shows. But it's also liberating. Because if my story can help one person recognize obsessive patterns early to seek help before becoming a stalker, then maybe something good can come of all this. She sent the link to her first talk, recorded and posted on NAMI Ohio's YouTube channel. I watched with tears streaming down my face. My name is Jessica Parker, she began, standing in front of an audience of about 50 people at the Columbus Metropolitan Library. And for 4 years, I was a stalker. I terrorized an innocent man named Ryan. I destroyed my life and almost destroyed his. And today, I want to tell my story. Not to apologize, but to educate, to show that obsession is not love, that stalking is a crime, not romance, and that healing is possible. But it requires real work, brutal honesty, and a willingness to face the ugliest parts of yourself. Ryan watched it too. He called me afterward, his voice thick with emotion. "She's really changed, isn't she?" he said, almost wondering. "She is," I confirmed. Not cured, but changed, working every day to be better, to use her trauma as a teaching tool. "I never thought I'd say this," Ryan admitted, "but I'm proud of her for turning trauma into purpose, for using her story to help others, for owning her shit publicly." On the 2-year anniversary of the hug that changed everything, October 2026, we organized a celebratory dinner. All of us, Jessica, Marcus, me, Daniel, Ryan, Lauren, plus my parents, who had finally accepted that Jessica needed real support, not cover-up. 2 years. Jessica raised her wine glass at the Martini Italian Bistro in German Village. 2 years since I finally let go, since I chose health over obsession, and look where we are now. We looked around, a table full of people who had been destroyed by obsession, but who had chosen healing, who had chosen forgiveness, who had chosen to move forward. "To healing," my father toasted, his voice emotional. "Messy, imperfect, but real healing." "To second chances," my mother added, tears in her eyes. "And to families that survive the impossible." "To friendship," Ryan looked at me, "that arose from trauma and became one of the best things in my life." "To love," Marcus looked at Jessica. "Real, healthy love, chosen every day. Not obsession, but genuine partnership." "To accountability," Lauren added, "to owning your mistakes and doing the work to be better." And Jessica, my sister, who had been consumed by obsession, but who had fought her way back, to liberation, to finally letting go, to choosing to live instead of just existing in fantasy, to be a real person in the real world, not lost in delusion. We toasted, and in that moment, I knew we had done it. Not perfectly, not with scars, but we had survived. And more than that, we had prospered. Obsession can destroy everything, lives, families, futures. But healing can rebuild, not in the same way, not without permanent scars, but rebuild nonetheless. And sometimes, what is rebuilt is stronger, more honest, more real than what existed before, because it is built on truth, not fantasy, on accountability, not denial. On choosing health every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. This story teaches us that obsession is not love, that stalking is a crime, not romance, regardless of gender. But it also teaches us that healing is possible, that people can change if they are genuinely committed to the brutal and honest work. Families do not need to cover up unhealthy behavior. Real support means seeking real professional help, setting firm boundaries, and holding the person accountable for their actions. Love does not mean protecting someone from consequences. It means helping them face those consequences and grow through them. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean that what happened was okay. It just means you are choosing not to let that define you forever. And sometimes, the greatest healing comes from seeing the person who hurt you truly changing, truly working to be better, really owning her shit publicly. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Leave in the comments, have you ever had someone close to you with obsessive behavior? How did you deal with it? And remember, if you recognize obsessive patterns in yourself, seek real help. Healing is possible, but it requires real work and brutal honesty with yourself. And you, what do you value more? Maintaining family peace by covering up problems, or seeking real help for those who need it, even when it's difficult and uncomfortable?